whenever you have a side control, Mike, let me borrow you have to keep in mind here on this side where their hands are and how they're controlling you. The first thing that you need to kind of keep in mind in a side control is that you need your elbows somehow in so that you can create frames. For those who really understand side control, like Chad did on me, because he is really heavy and he passed my guard and he got me into side control. But what he kept doing is he kept on pulling my arms up so that he kept on walking this up, and he was constantly driving, and he had this pressure where he kept walking kind of around the head, and then so it wasn't like it was very difficult to move. And then this knee kept my arm out also as he began to kind of attack and go for these, because when the arms get caught out, you really have a problem, because this is what's going to get submitted. It's a lot more difficult to submit you when your elbows are in. Okay, so to do this, you have to kind of retract your elbows and move your hips and get this hip in. You have to recognize that for him, if he's got an underhook, this is really what he wants ultimately for control, because I want the underhook, but I need to frame his hip here, and it needs to be literally like a frame so that I can create a space here. And there's a couple things that I potentially need to do. Number one, protect this arm, because if it's just here, and the last thing I want to do is grab and pull him onto me. If this is just dangling right here, oftentimes the person on the top is just going to walk that hand up, and bring their right knee closer to the hip, because this is already a potential mount. Yes, he gets that knee inside and he mounts with his right knee. And the second he mounts, he keeps driving back up. And now you've got a really big problem here, because your arm is getting straightened out, whether for a key lock or if he just puts his head on the mat and starts kind of moving it out towards his right here. Yes, you see how he straightens it out. So you have a problem, because if you notice, everything consists of separating your elbows from your hips. Now go back. So whenever you get into this position and you are in side control, you need to retract your elbows and begin to move your hips so that your elbow gets into this frame here. And then depending on how committed he is, this frame makes space, your feet come out, and then your right elbow and right knee come together, and then you can begin to already potentially recompose guard or whatever the case may be. But they lose side control, not easily, but you force them to have to make choices and to move and to make it uncomfortable. The other thing, so what we're gonna do is talk about retracting elbows. If his knee is tight to his left, yes, right here, okay? What I need to do is to retract this, I need to move my hips away and back in here. And as you move it back in, your elbow and knee come together while I still keep this frame, so that my left foot, and I'll do it from the other side, goes on my right instep, and I frame away, push away, so that here I can get potentially into a butterfly guard right here. So I'll show you right here. I want to retract these elbows here so that this hand can come in. I got to move my hips into him so that my head can move away. And then in one motion, you move hips out here. And your right leg is going across his belt line. Very important, because this is also a frame as he begins to collapse more weight, so that here your left foot goes on your right instep, and then your right hand is still on the hip, and you frame him away here so that you're able to have the space. In here you immediately set up and you go for potentially hook flips or whatever it may be, but you're not in open guard, they're not in side control. And that's why I tell you guys that it's better to go to the north-south matrix. And I saw a lot of this holding here, because you got to also consider the fact that in order for him to really submit me, he's got to use his hands. So if he's going to use his hands, and I need to be able to kind of create frames with mine, I have to be able to be, number one, comfortable here, which is also good to keep your right knee by his hip, just in case if he moves a little bit to his left here, you're able to immediately insert it and start creating space. That's also important because you got to keep your legs somewhere. You don't want to keep it flat. You don't want to be just here, just with your feet flat. This has to be kind of dynamic because for me to move my hip, it's not my near leg that moves it. It's my far leg that moves the hip to turn on to my side. And this stays as I begin to create, space and so forth. For him to submit me, he needs to use his hands, even if let's say, he's got a good side control, his left elbow, left knee. Yeah, bring that left elbow to the left knee. This one right here, yeah. So that this arm's kind of trapped out because this really is problematic because you can get submitted from here by guys that know these type of, near side arm bars, like actually Roger Machado does. For him to be able to submit me, he needs to get his hands in the game. This is fine. It's just like I got to be comfortable here, but I have to wait for my opportunity. Maybe this is just too much to bring in. Maybe I'm trying to move my hip in, and he keeps pulling me in, and I can't get here. Fine, that's fine. But I need to understand that there's going to come a time where he's sitting here, which is fine. I don't care. You're here, which is fine. But I can feel his hands, what they're doing, because here my elbow is pinching his arm. So it's not like he can just pull it out and begin to work with it. And also my chin is pointing down so that I'm also kind of controlling his cross-face arm right here. So the second he begins to, let's say for you, Mike, slowly, what would you do now that you're a blue belt to get your hands in the game to set up submissions? Slowly, go ahead. Yes, I feel the left hand pulling, the right hand's pulling right there. Yeah, you feel the hand. And then you can improve your position because he is turning. He's probably going to turn on his right side because he's got a, yes, right there. Yes, he likes that one. Yes, it's good. Look, right here, watch. What's nice here is that, look, Mike caught a lot from this straight armbar as he stepped over the head, just like I taught him right here, all right? So what's nice about this, for the top person, is when you go for this setup, the only real way for me to save my arm is to bring it in front of your face. So if you do the right shoulder, right ear kind of telephone shrug, and you start pulling that elbow, and you start straightening it out, okay? Right here is a moment where I gotta decide, I'm gonna get straight arm lock, so either I keep this leg from coming over and I gotta save this arm. But for you, as you begin to slowly set it up, go ahead, slowly, yes, right here, slowly here. If I do this right here, your left hand grabs for the kilo. Yes, right there. So you can set this up as potential decoy. Go for the primary attack right here, and then if you just let them bring their hand through, your left hand's already catching it, and then switching the base, and immediately go right through for the kilo. Side control escape. So you're here, okay? My chin is tucked, my hips are up a bit. I want my elbow in, all right? I want to move my hips into him, my head away. Frame one, and then I frame as I start turning to the side, and my knee comes through here, my left foot goes on my right, and even use your hands to frame away so that you begin to get an open guard, 4 points of contact right here, all right? One more time from this side. It's important to understand the concept of the frames. When you frame, your hands should be looking towards you because you have more power with this elbow versus this. This right here, it's like weak. Here you have your whole lat, shoulder, everything, okay? So as I bring this in here, I walk and my hips are up. It's preferred not to have them here because there's too much surface area to move here. And I can roll up on his hand right here, which makes it difficult for him now to remove that crossface. Try to remove the crossface. It's tougher here, okay? As I can begin to move my hips away. The second I bring this down, it goes towards me, I frame it here, and I bring my knee into the elbow, your hip, whether butterfly, collar, sleeve, whatever it may be, you have an open guard, and now you gotta work from your open guard, and then you'll tell me, well, I got a weak open guard, okay? So one last time. Okay. Yes, good. So here, he's tight here. I move my hips in, my head moves away. Elbows in, and this hangs kind of on this arm right here. I don't want to do this. This is bad for me, good for him. Here, so I move my hip in, hip, here. The second I get that frame on the hip, my feet start walking out, and then I turn my hip and bring this across, foot here, here. Because here, his arm's in trouble. He'll pull that arm back, and then you're able to have potential open guard and so forth. But now, he's not in a side control, and you're in an open guard. Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Leg.